I blame the French. Well, you see, they do like to inspire us, they do, yeah. They inspire us with fashion, they inspire us with their food, and they inspire us with their farming protests, as it seems. Yes, UK farmers in Kent, the Kent farmers, while they're mounting blockades over cheap post-Brexit, yes, I kid you not, post-Brexit imports. Just remind me for a second, did the farmers as a whole vote for Brexit? I think so. Not all, no. Such as Liz Webster from Save British Farming. She didn't vote for Brexit, but unfortunately many of them did. No, they mounted their own campaigns regarding Brexit. Vote out. They stuck posters on the corners of their fields attached to straw bales. That they did. Well, unfortunately for them, it's bit them in the bloody arse that it has, as Brexit. Now, many of them just say, we don't want any of these cheap imports, you see. But you see, the thing is, when we're in the EU, the European Union, via the CAP, the Common Agricultural Policy, protected farmers, whether it be British farmers or whether it be farmers in the EU. But no. Since Brexit, we no longer have a seat at the table, we no longer have those protections, and also we don't have any CAP. But no subsidies for the farmers to speak of. We'll get into that in a moment, you see, because it's, how to put it, it's ridiculous. It really is ridiculous. So the UK farmers vow to mount more blockades over cheap post-Brexit imports. They're not very happy of a leg of lamb being imported from New Zealand, okay, and end up on the shelf in the supermarkets for about 15 quid. Yeah, 15 smags, that's all, for a leg of lamb. I'll tell you something, you will not find a leg of lamb here in France for, well, around 20 euros. Definitely not. I hope in hell, no. Now, the French farmers, they have also been protesting, that has to be said. Yeah, they've been mounting their protests. But they're, how to put it, they're not quite so low-key as us Brits. Yeah, we don't like to cause trouble, do we? You know, no fuss, Brits, that's us. You see, the French, they like to put shit everywhere. They like to set light to the supermarkets. They cause blockades. In fact, one said, we're going to starve the Parisians, they said. Yeah, I kid you not. Well, they've inspired the UK farmers, in this case in Kent, to blockade Dover. Now, I have a little bit of a problem with these protests. I believe that, yes, we have a right to protest. But I think they're all getting it all wrong. I really do. For me, you see. Okay? A protest should be aimed at those who make the rules. So instead of blockading the ports, which then would just push up the price of all the food, and also the farmers' own inputs, considering they are all imported, such as the seed, the grain, the feed, the fertilisers, etc., all imported into the UK. They're shooting themselves in the foot there. Why the hell don't they end up, find out who's in charge of the Secretary of State for Environment, Food and Rural Affairs, such as this geezer, the Right Honourable, nothing honourable about him, no, Steve Barclay MP. Stick it in the shit on his doorstep. Get the old muck spreaders out and spray his flipping house. Or maybe even the Prime Minister's house. I reckon so. Not, well, mount protests that just affect ordinary folk who, quite frankly, are suffering already. You know, they're struggling to feed their families, their children, let alone pay their bills. Got it all wrong. Same applies to the environmental protests by Extinction Rebellion and Just Stop Oil and what have you. All they're doing is hitting ordinary people. Stopping them from being able to make a living. You know, or make it more expensive for them to make a living. Make it more expensive when they go shopping. Food prices last year, on average, went up of around 10% on the shelf in the supermarkets. Well, this is just going to, these protests regarding the farmers are just going to put, well, more risk on, well, having empty supermarket shelves, I suppose, and increased costs. Now, the people we should be protesting against, obviously, are our MPs, the ones in control, the ones who could actually make a change through legislation. Ones who could put protections in for the farmers, but also the likes of you and I, you know. But no. They think, I know, we're going to stop ordinary folk going about their business. You know, being able to get the kids to school, for instance, that sort of stuff. Maybe go on a holiday, a well-deserved holiday. Instead, you've got to sit in the queue. The whole industry is completely messed up because of Brexit, and we have to get honest about that. We're not honest about the causes of the problems that we face. Well, we're never going to be able to deal with them, are we? Even if we are still outside of the European Union, which is the most likely case. Well, 5 years ago, 5 years. Oh dear, post-Brexit. Oh, massive error. All right? Farmers say post-Brexit funding plan risks food scarce. Employing the empty shelves. This is 5 years ago. This has been escalating ever since. You see, the farmers' subsidies. Oh my God, the SFI and what have you, and the agricultural fund is a fraction of what they were getting before. It's tiny. Now, food production in the UK will be put at risk without government commitments to safeguard farmers after Brexit, and food scares could be the result. The head of the UK's biggest farming organisation has warned, I wonder who that would be. Right? There's only one person who's been 100% honest regarding the biggest farming organisations, and that's the Scottish Farmers Union. But what did the BBC do in an interview? Was it last year, the year before? I can't remember. They cut out what the head of the Scottish Farmers Union said. He clearly blamed Brexit. But what did they do? They just cut that out. The BBC. Well, they are concerned about the loss of roughly $3 billion a year that farmers currently receive from taxpayers under the EU's Common Agricultural Policy and the threat of low-cost imports. Yeah, but it's not just imports, is it? No. So you know we get imports from places like, maybe not Canada now, since that one fell, went to the ether. And obviously not from the United States, because that never materialised in the first place. But New Zealand, for instance. Cheap food for peasants, apparently, if you ask Doffcat Forlock, Jacob Rees-Mogg. Well, Minette Batty Batters, the woman who sat on the fence regarding Brexit until the last minute, when she knows the industry, she's not a fool. She just sat on the fence because she didn't want to be criticised by the farmers. Last week she said, maybe it's not a great idea if you vote Brexit. Well, Minette Batters, President of the National Farmers Union, said to put an agricultural bill out there before we know the terms of trade with other nations is extraordinary. Well, this is exactly what's happened. The policy came out and we're still, negotiating trade deals that, quite frankly, are not in the benefit of the farmers. It's just nuts. The whole thing is just mental. You have to ask the question, who will be producing our food, she said. Looking to the rest of the world, she said. To shore up what we do seems a massive error. Yes. There's no food security in the United Kingdom. The UK, all right, oh God, imported 30-odd% of its food just from the EU. 30%. Now, they do say the UK produces around 50% of its food. 50 to 60%, is 60% of it's roughly imported. But it's actually higher than that. Because what they don't tell you is the food stuff that we have to import to be able to process the food that we make in the country. They don't tell you that. No, they don't tell you the fact that the farmers' food, that they rely heavily on imports from the EU just for all the fertilisers, the grain, the seed. Maybe not seed potatoes, but we know that the Scotch seed potato growers, they are suffering because of Brexit, because they can't export it into their seed potatoes into the EU anymore. No. Probably not even Northern Ireland. God's sake, because of the Windsor Framework. The whole thing is just mental. Did you realise, all right, let's just be happy about this, The Prime Minister got beaten by less. How many days? 48 days or whatever she was in office. Well, 90% of UK lettuce is shipped from the EU. 90%. That's just the tip of the iceberg. Oh, crikey. The whole thing's just crazy. Coffee, for instance, right? If you get the coffee, it comes from South African countries, don't you? It's not shipped directly. No. Most of it's coming via Belgium. Belgium. The idea that we could just, all of a sudden we're just going to change the demographics of where we get our food from. No. And how we get it. See, dairy products, for instance. A huge number of dairy products in the UK are imported every year from France, for instance. Much of that does obviously arrive at Dover, hence the protests and what have you. But it's not about what's being imported. If, for instance, the farmers were more, how to put it, in the UK, British farmers could produce the food for cheaper, obviously the prices could potentially come down and makes them more competitive. Well, that's what comes with subsidies. You see, the farmers in the EU are getting their subsidies like they were before. Well, you see. Oh, there we are, dearie me. The farmers say there will be further blockades. Yeah, French-style blockades following the slow tractor protest at Dover against low supermarket prices and cheap food imports. Cheap food for peasants. Yeah, for these post-Brexit trade deals. Screwed them, it did. Yeah. And farmers, right, received less than 0.5% of post-Brexit money. 0.5%. Yeah, and that was based on the overall 2.4 billion agricultural support budget, of which the SFI, which is the environmental part of it, it's all part of that same thing. Now, around 40 odd tractors and other farm vehicles blocked the roads around Kent Port for several hours. This was Friday, even by driving slowly. Sorry, this just reminds me of crikey, was it Lockfin langoustines and Scottish seafood producers, fishermen, what have you. Oh, coming down to London, driving around Westminster a couple of times, so they got a parking ticket or something, or some fine or what have you, and then they drove home again. Oh, crikey, what was his name? I can't remember his name. The guy from Lockfin Langoustines, he actually, I'm going to go down there, I'm going to dump all the rotten fish I am on their doorstep, he said, in Scottish accent, obviously not like, oh, okay. But he didn't. No, they came down, drove down, used a load of fuel, just damaged the environment, and then drove back again. It's just nuts. So anyway, they had signs they did with slogans such as "No more cheap imports." Now, the facts matter, A loaf of bread, which probably contains listine, which is basically human hair, is worth 0.09 pence profit to a cereal farmer. It sounds like it. 9 pence. 9 pence every loaf of bread. That's just crazy. Well, a £2.50 block of cheddar was worth less than a penny for dairy farmers. You realise how much cheese and rennet, what have you or cheese, how much you require? There's a vegetarian rennet as well, aren't they? But anyway, how much milk you require just to make a block of cheese? It's huge. Curds and whey and all that. Oh, blimey. And regarding the SFI, the Sustainable Farming Incentive, where they basically set land aside and what have you, in 2022, about 85,000 farmers in England were eligible to join the Sustainable Farming Incentive, but only 1,829 actually applied for it. The argument was they reckon the payments were so low it didn't even justify the time it needed to fill out the forms. This is how mental it's all got, People need to be fed. And it doesn't just hit the farmers, it don't just hit the people buying the food, such as the likes of you and I, ordinary folk. What about the restaurants and all those sort of people that also have to pass on those costs? People say, "Oh, can't afford to go out then, can we?" So now this is a bit shocking. When Britain was still in the EU, right, farmers received on average £230 per hectare. What's a hectare? It's about 2.3 acres. Was an acre 4,200? Well, anyway, about 2.2, 2.3 acres to hectare. Anyway, £230 for every hectare in 2022. And in 2022, sorry, per hectare when we're in the EU. But in 2022, measures to improve the quality of the soil, etc., under the SFI were worth only £22 per hectare for the introductory level, and then it goes up to £40 for the intermediate level. So they're getting nowhere near what they were getting before. Plus, there's other things as well what no one seems to talk about, is when we were in the EU, the farmers, they could apply for interest-free loans for tractors and other investments regarding the agricultural sector. Can they do that now? I don't know. Is the UK offering that? I very much doubt it. So, okay, look, yeah, last October, farmers in Somerset attempted to block Morrison's distribution centre. The same thing is you have to do it in mass. There's no good just having a little, a couple of farmers do this, a couple of farmers do that, and put a coffin there or something. They did, I'm saying proud to be, carrying a mock coffin with a plaque reading "In memory of Welsh farming." So, they've scuppered themselves with Brexit. Now, I've said this before, and I've got to say it again. What shocks me is, with the whole Brexit campaign, what have you, pushing for something that's your own, what leads to your own demise. And the same with the fishing industry. They too wanted their Brexit. They got suckered by the likes of Nigel Farage, and they still are suckered by him, And then obviously Alexander Boris to Bethel Johnson with his, get Brexit done. They're suckered. It's just, I find the whole thing absolutely maddening. I really do. But I'll tell you what, I'm going to leave it like that for now, because tonight I want to talk about this further. Because I'm live tonight at 8:30 UK time. So, if, for instance, hopefully the live stream will be live, will still be up afterwards. Depends whether or not they banned me for whatever reason. YouTube is. But otherwise, we are live 8:30 PM tonight. Well, actually every Sunday, to be fair. And I think we're going to talk about this further, because this is just madness. The whole thing is madness. At the end of the day, people need to be fed at a price that they can afford. Although I must admit, I think in the UK you don't pay enough for your food. That's another story. Oh, anyway, if you want to support the channel, you can do it on Patreon or buy us a coffee, and the links are down below. Also got the super thanks as well. But please, just boot the old like button and maybe subscribe to the channel. Some more madness. Sonny's madness, baggy trousers and all that, yeah. But also, we're also doing a rewilding here in France, where we are planting trees. And we'll also be having, on my other channel, my rewilding channel, link down below in the description, I'm going to be streaming my little bird box live. Once I've got birds in it, otherwise there'll be no point. Let's see if we get some birds in it first. It won't be long. So, anyway, I hope you have a lovely weekend and a lovely week. But for now, I hope you'll join us tonight. Toodaloo. Blimey, the world's gone flipping bonkers.
Yeah, but new, but yeah, but new, but yeah, but new.